I found that there's a tipping point with a lot of property management companies. And once they get past that 100 property, there's a loss. It's a loss of great communication with your guests. It's a loss of great communication with your owners. It's a loss of knowledge of all the intricacies that make every property individual. So that we chose that 100, we looked at that scalable growth for Uncharted Vacations. We looked at obviously our cash flow analysis. We want this to be obviously a nucleus team with a nucleus set of owners who we know every owner. We know when their kids are in school and where they're going to college and what's their dog's name and those sort of things. Because again, it's a partnership. And when that becomes too diluted, that's where quality seems to suffer.
Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. This is your essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business with advice and insights from the best in the biz. I'm your host, Lynell Gordon. Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. I'm Lynell Gordon, your host, and I have a very interesting guest today. Michael Steinkirchener is the founder of a company called Uncharted Vacations. They're a boutique business where they are set up to do things, quote unquote, differently, which was really interesting to me. But after talking to him, I really realized why they did that. So, Michael, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much, Lynell. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Now, you do something else. You're a consultant. You own this advisory company. What do you guys consult on?
Yes. So Uncharted Vacations is one venture, but then we have Stream Advisors, which is another. We help independent owners who are maybe new to the short-term rental industry, as well as working with companies that as the industry changes and evolves, we help them with best practices, modifying their technology stack, bringing new technology to the table, and basically a tailor-made approach for each one of them.
That is so cool because that really speaks to the fact that you do things differently at Uncharted. Let's talk about something that you talked to me about. And I was just like, Michael, you have to talk to people about it. It's so cool. One of the challenges in vacation rentals is having homeowners who are really hesitant to update their vacation rental. So as their house gets older in the program, sometimes it's a problem. And you came up with a way that solved that in a really unique, cool way. How are you doing that?
Sure. So we designed what we call the Redesign on Our Dime program. It's a wonderful program. It's tiered, obviously, depending on the need. But we work with an owner who maybe isn't cash liquid to invest several $1,000s to do new furnishings or to remodel a bathroom or something like that. So what we will do is we will finance that for them. And in return, obviously, it helps us with retention because instead of charging just our standard management fee, we'll charge them a higher management fee over the course of however long it takes to pay that back. But the immediate result is it's higher average daily rate that comes in. They're not out, and they feel that we've truly partnered with them for their investment on it.
Oh, that's fabulous, especially for owner retention. Not only do you have a contract with them that they have to maintain with you until you finish that. One of the questions I had for you, and I think that people may be asking is, what if they decide to go somewhere else? Is there a contractual agreement that stands up for that?
Sure, absolutely. So in our state, we operate in Florida. So there are statutes that actually could put a design lien on the property using a licensed designer. But additionally, we have a couple of different options. They could accelerate that and pay that remaining balance off themselves. Or we do offer that to actually be transferred to the new owner. So that new owner, if they were to convert or sell the property, the new owner could then assume that and it would be drawn up in the new contract. So it's not that they would necessarily have to pay off that full balance. Obviously, we know that closings happen. It takes time for a check to clear or something like that. So we give them a window on conversion. It protects us, but it also lets them know that we can be flexible with it.
Oh, that's cool. That really is cool. So what advice would you give property management companies that are looking to start up, like for startups? Because you've done a startup with Uncharted is a startup.
It is. It is. The biggest thing I could say is know where you want to be at in 3 to 4 years. One of the biggest challenges that I saw with a lot of companies is they start off and then they haven't built themselves to be scalable. So they're implementing a PMS 2 or 3 years when they have 500 or 600 reservations and all this data. Know what your tech stack needs to look like, know what your staffing needs to look like, and most importantly, know what your threshold is and what your pain point is going to be when you hit that, whether it's 50, 100, 500. Because if you're Once you get to the point where you have 300 or 400 properties and now you're realizing your tech stack or your bookkeeping or your processes don't work, that horse has already left the stable, so to speak.
So start out the way you want to go.
Exactly.
Especially with tech stack and property management systems. I agree 100%. I'm a big advocate of the fact that even with small property management companies, the right PMS to start out with, as opposed to saying, oh, here's one that'll do reservations and I can do my accounting through QuickBooks or something like that. Having that type of PMS that will start you out and allow you to grow without having to add more people.
Absolutely. And implementation of a new PMS can knock out your manpower for a period of several weeks. These systems are so robust now that when you have that need for that larger system, you may have to dedicate one or two or even a person from every department that you may have a couple of weeks just to go through the implementation and conversion of all of that data. So for a startup, again, make sure obviously you have great protection programs out there, whether it's damage protection, travel insurance, all those sorts of things. Some people think of those as an afterthought for revenue, but when you're a startup, all those little ancillary services that you can offer that help generate revenue are critical.
That's because 100% of it goes to you. It's not a commission base.
That's correct.
I was just talking to somebody about that like 20 minutes ago. 100%. Let me ask you something for travel insurance. And I probably should ask somebody like Brady Stump this question. I should. But you know a lot about it because you're quite involved with that. What do you think the uptake for guests buying insurance, like travel insurance, should be for a property manager? What percentage of their reservations would have that? What do you think people sell?
Right. I would say currently maybe 10 to 15%. The OTAs obviously now being more preferable to those with more flexible cancellation policies. I think some guests don't understand the importance of it, but how many decisions are made last minute? And, you brought Brady up and Lynell Gordon and those folks. They offer a great new product, Cancel for Any Reason, which is a great product that they're offering now, instead of just a limited scope of cancellation reasons and things like that. But I do think that obviously more people should consider travel insurance. There's options that exist as close as 30 days away. Again, I don't think as many property management companies are marketing that not only to safeguard the relationship what they have with their guest. There's no worse feeling than when you tell a guest that they're 10 days out and something happens and unfortunately you don't have the flexibility to work with them. So, I think it should be closer to 30 or 40%, both from a guest-facing standpoint to protect your guest and protect your homeowner when it comes in there as well.
I think at least 30 or 40% too. I always take what my family does and I half it. And I'm like, okay, that should be at least an average for that, no matter what it is, whether it's ancillary services are such an important part of a property management company making money. So those ancillary services are killer. Tell me, what advice would you give property management companies brand new, starting out? Talk to me about your marketing. What are important things to do as far as marketing goes?
Sure. So obviously knowing your customer base, knowing the demographics of your customer base, knowing what your entire portfolio really wants to look like. I've seen some companies that immediately what they want to do is they want to grab every property because they need the cash flow. They need the revenue to be able to come through. Knowing your brand, knowing who you want to be and who you want to design. Our name, Uncharted, we wanted to do something totally different than anyone else did. And that included not nickel and diming our owners for a lot of different fees. We made our commission structure very aggressive, but we did that because the owner knows at the end of the day, that's what their commission is. Knowing your brand, knowing your customer from a marketing standpoint, it's setting yourself apart from the competition, whether it's in the way that you do business with your owners, whether you do business with your guests in a different way, whether you offer a different experience to your guest. Is it an all-inclusive model where you can provide things like golf carts and kayaks and beach chairs and all of these sort of things that maybe your competitor is not doing on that?
Built by property managers for property managers, Streamline is a powerful software that gives managers enterprise-level capabilities to drive more revenue and improve operational efficiency. Migrating to Streamline allows property managers to gain functionality while reducing the need for multiple vendors. Improve your flow by logging into a single system and reduce redundant technology costs. With Streamline, Property managers achieve revenue lifts by leveraging our fully fledged communication center reservations, quoting system, revenue management tools, homeowner acquisition CRM, and powerful direct OTA connections. Streamline also has industry-leading trust accounting and report capabilities to give you clarity in an overall company performance. Learn more about Streamline Vacation Rental software at streamlinevrs.com. You do something very unusual again, and I'm going to bring that up. Let's talk about your all-inclusive pricing for homeowners. It has to do with attracting homeowners and homeowner retention. So tell us what you do there, and then tell me what you do at the end of the year.
Sure. So one of the great things that we do, again, it's a little bit more aggressive than what the competition is doing. So we don't charge our owners for any linen fees. We provide all of our linens, great quality product. We don't charge them for things like light bulbs and batteries and individual service calls that we go out on that are sort of within the standard means, clogged toilets, all those sort of things. We don't charge them for locks. We don't charge them for new photography. If they want to go out and renovate a room or part of our redesign program, we take care of that for them. But what we do is we actually mark that on their statement. And what that does is that builds value for the owner. So let's say hypothetically we did $1,500 worth of linens for them for that half of a year that we provided to them. We list that on their statement, but then we discount it and show them. So at the end of the year, we do that end of the year tally. And when an owner's possibly considering property management company number B, who offered them 2% less commission, we show them the thousands of dollars over the course of that year that we could have, or maybe property management company B would have charged them, but that we took care. And again, it shows that partnership and investment with them.
And it shows real value, monetary value, especially when they're looking around for something else. When you consult with property management companies, what kind of things do you find are the problems that they're coming to you with that you're like, oh, everybody's having this kind of thing? What kind of problems do they come to you with?
I think obviously the biggest things are the rules that change in terms of with OTAs and how to best capture those direct booking. There are some legacy companies out there. They've been around for 30 or 40 years. How to handle guest behaviors, guests that want to have that safety net of booking through an OTA, or a booking platform and things like that. I think it's a challenge for everyone. Everyone would love to have 100% direct booking at, an 80 or 90% occupancy. But constantly staying up on the changes with OTAs, how the technology that a competitor is using compared to the technology, it's really staying current. I think that's the biggest thing. I've only been in the industry for, again, 14 years. We have some folks that they're on their third generation in this business. And even their youngest generation still has to attend conferences. They have to watch podcasts. They have to read as much as they can about the software to make sure they're making the best decisions.
So how did you make a decision about your software when you started out? What were the things that you looked at?
One of the biggest things is challenges in accounting. Accounting is one of those things because you have usually your CFO that you're dealing with, and you also have your regulatory things, and you never want to have those things in conflict. So I look for a PMS that has a very robust back software, trust accounting, as well as how it operates with some of the other things, whether it has interoperability with maybe a local tax reporting agency or with a credit card processor or with a gateway that has to come in. Because obviously, we are a business, and that business has to be recorded accurately and transacted accurately as well. So trust accounting is a very important piece. I think the other does deal with whether it has enough open APIs, but how much is robustly built into that. For example, Streamline and some of the larger PMS systems, they have a housekeeping module built in. They have a maintenance module built in. They have all of these additional services, so you're not having to plug in another peripheral, which comes with an additional subscription charge for a lot of those things.
There's one of the things that you mentioned that I was like so impressed with. You were like, we want 100 properties and that's all we're going to do. We're just going to grow to 100 and that's it. Tell me why 100.
So in my consulting over the last couple of years and working for different companies over a decade, I found that there's a tipping point with a lot of property management companies. And once they get past that 100 property, there's a loss. It's a loss of great communication with your guests. It's a loss of great communication with your owners. It's a loss of knowledge of all the intricacies that make every property individual. So that we chose that 100, we looked at that scalable growth for Uncharted Vacations. We looked at obviously our cash flow analysis. We want this to be obviously a nucleus team with a nucleus set of owners who we know every owner. We know when their kids are in school and where they're going to college and what's their dog's name and those sort of things. Because again, it's a partnership. And when that becomes too diluted, that's where quality seems to suffer.
I think it's really interesting because, yes, you can grow, but you have to grow the infrastructure on the back end in order to maintain what you're talking about. So I love the fact that you're like, this is where we are, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. It's just really cool to see that kind of business model set up where you have all those plans on the back end. What advice would you give property managers that are looking to grow their revenue, like additional revenue sources outside of commission?
I think obviously looking for full service, whether that's concierge services. We're working actually, and I can't use the name of the company, but we're working with a very great grocery delivery company. They're only permitted to go to the door. So we're looking at having that grocery delivery at the door, and then we're taking the groceries inside and placing them. So having that as an interior service that comes with them, partnering with beach chair services or golf cart companies and those sort of things in a revenue share situation where there's obviously some revenue from that. And then your traditional, whether it's damage protection or travel insurance or all these sort of things too. I think another big thing that a lot of people fail to do is they don't negotiate. They're not negotiating with their technology partners and their providers for certain things, whether it's your credit card processor. You're talking about several $1 million worth of revenue over the course of a year. That 0.5% or 0.25% on your credit card fee can be a tremendous amount that may fund another employee, a staff member that you may need. So I think negotiating with your vendors is just as critical as what you're doing on the commission side of things for your owners.
That is excellent advice. I was in business for like 25 years in my tech company, and I didn't know I could negotiate with the processor until the last 5 years of business. And you're right, it really added up. I was so impressed with the ability to negotiate that. And that came up because I had a company call me saying, here, I can give you this rate. And I was like, that's significantly different. So I called my company and I'm like, hey, can you give me, this rate? Oh, we can beat that rate. And I was like, why didn't I know this all these years? That money's just going off the table. It's just sitting right there, piling up, going to somebody else that could come to me. So yeah. And I rarely have people say that. So thank you for bringing that up. Is there any other advice that you would give to property managers?
The biggest thing that I could think of is give credit where credit is due in terms of, we offer a very nice reward program for our cleaners. Our cleaners are the people that are at the front lines every day, and it's so critically important. And so many of my colleagues, they do look at that bottom line, but I came from the operations side into this business from doing inspections and light maintenance and things like that. The cleaners are the backbone of this industry. They're what puts food on the table for 99% of us. And so we just need to be conscious. We need to be conscientious of them and make sure that we appreciate everything that they do for us. And I'm one of those ones, I'm not afraid. I will go and clean toilets and make beds and do all those sorts of things. But, as the industry changes and some people see it as a little bit more tumultuous as it's going, we just need to realize those people that are at the front lines doing everything that they can for our guests and for our owners.
100%. I loved cleaning houses. I did that to go through college myself at our property management company. Tell me, what are the things you do to appreciate your cleaners?
We have the ability of working with some of them, and they're very gracious. We live in a hurricane environment. We've had situations where we had a tornado that came off of the Gulf, and we had owners that said basically, if any of the cleaners need a place to live or stay temporarily while they figure out what they're going to do, we have that. We offer cash incentives, obviously, and we do that directly to the cleaner themselves. We have an agreement made with the cleaning company, but we like to go directly reward that cleaner, when we're seeing those positive things. We had one cleaner, I went by a property and her vacuum looked like it was a little older and things like that. We went and purchased her a new vacuum. And just the look on her face that she didn't see that coming out of her bottom line. We lost a little bit in translation because of a language barrier, but it was just one of those things that we wanted to be able to do for her just to show her we appreciated her.
I love that. I really appreciate all the ideas that you bring to the industry. And you do think out of the box. You think differently in that. So I'm excited to see what happens in the next few years. You'll have to keep in touch with me.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the invitation.
Let me ask you this. If people want to reach out to you, Michael, for some of your ideas and just to talk to you about vacation rentals, would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely.
So how would they reach you?
So the best way to reach me would probably be by email, and that's info@stayuncharted.com. They could visit our website, which is stayuncharted.com. We love our domain that we were able to capture. We also are on social media. I monitor that account, so any messages that come in through Uncharted Vacations Facebook page, they could reach out to us that way.
So guys, if you want some of his ideas, he's really full of incredible ideas. Reach out to him, make a friend, make a mentor, and thanks again, Michael, for being with me.
Thank you very much.
This episode of the Vacation Rental Show is brought to you by Streamline. To find out more about how Streamline can grow your vacation rental business, visit streamlinevrs.com. Make sure to search for the Vacation Rental Show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Inhabit, thanks for listening.